My parents favored my brother and refused to support my career, and my girlfriend took their side, so I dealt them a blow they couldn't withstand. At 28, I made the bold decision to sever ties with my parents 6 months ago, a choice born from a painful realization that their loyalty lay not with me, but with my younger brother, their undeniable favorite. The sting of their preference was compounded when I uncovered a shocking betrayal. My girlfriend had been secretly reporting my every move to them. The weight of these discoveries crushed me, but they also set the stage for a deeper reflection on my ambitions, my family dynamics, and the path I've chosen to forge alone. For years, I toiled in the real estate industry, navigating its highs and lows with a quiet determination. It was a stable career, one that paid the bills and offered a semblance of security, but it never truly ignited my passion. Deep within me burned a dream, one I had nurtured since my early 20s, to build something of my own, a business that bore my vision and reflected my values. 6 months ago, I decided the time was right to chase that dream. I had saved diligently, amassing enough to cushion the leap, and my resolve was unshakable. Quitting my job felt like shedding a skin that no longer fit, and I poured every ounce of my energy into laying the foundation for my entrepreneurial venture. I knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but I believed I could mitigate some of those risks by enlisting the support of my parents. My father, a seasoned businessman, had grown up in a family of entrepreneurs, managing a successful car dealership alongside his brother. My mother, with her sharp accounting skills, kept their books in impeccable order. Their expertise seemed like the perfect complement to my ambition. I imagined them not just as investors but as mentors who could guide me through the uncharted waters of entrepreneurship. So, with a mix of hope and nerves, I broached the subject at a family dinner, laying out my vision for a real estate-focused business that would leverage my experience in innovative ways. My younger brother, 25 and brimming with ambition, was present at that dinner, a decision I now recognize as my first misstep. He had been working in sales, a field that suited his charismatic personality and relentless drive. I had always admired his confidence, even if it sometimes bordered on arrogance. But nothing prepared me for what came next. Just weeks after my announcement, he declared his own intention to start a business, mirroring my aspirations with uncanny precision. He even quit his job, claiming that my pursuit of my dream had inspired him to chase his own. I wanted to believe his intentions were genuine, but a nagging unease settled in my chest. His sudden interest in entrepreneurship felt less like inspiration and more like competition. At first, I brushed off my irritation. After all, his decision didn't directly impact my plans, or so I thought. My focus remained on refining my business proposal and preparing to pitch it to my parents formally. I spent countless nights poring over market research, financial projections, and operational strategies, determined to prove that my venture was worth their investment. I wasn't just asking for money, I was inviting them to believe in me, to see the potential I saw in myself. The blow came at another family dinner, one that would alter the course of my relationship with my parents. They sat me down, their expressions heavy with a decision I hadn't anticipated. They explained that their resources were finite, that they could only invest in one of us, me or my brother. Then, with a calm that belied the devastation their words would cause, they chose him. My brother, they said, was their pick. To add salt to the wound, they revealed that his proposed business was also in real estate, a field he had never shown interest in until I laid bare my own plans. The coincidence was too stark to ignore, and suspicion began to gnaw at me. Had he co-opted my idea, repackaged it as his own, and somehow convinced our parents it was his brainchild? The pain of their decision was visceral. I sat in stunned silence, my mind racing to process the rejection. My parents had always favored my brother. His charm, his confidence, his effortless ability to win people over had always outshone my quieter determination. But to have that favoritism laid bare, to be told explicitly that they believed in him more than me, was a wound I hadn't prepared for. I felt like a child again, overlooked and undervalued, my efforts diminished by his shadow. I didn't speak, couldn't find the words to express the betrayal that churned within me. I needed time to process, to make sense of a reality I'd always suspected but never wanted to confront. As I grappled with my emotions, my brother approached me, his tone dripping with what he must have thought was compassion. He told me not to worry, that I could join his venture if I wanted. But his offer wasn't one of partnership, it was a condescending gesture, a suggestion that I could play a supporting role in his grand vision. The implication was clear, I wasn't good enough to lead, but I could tag along if I was willing to settle for less. His words cut deeper than my parents' rejection, twisting the knife in a wound already raw. I couldn't bear the smugness in his voice, the assumption that I'd be grateful for his scraps. It was in that moment that I realized I couldn't stay tethered to a family that so blatantly favored one son over the other. The decision to cut off contact with my parents wasn't made lightly. It was the culmination of years of feeling like the lesser child, compounded by their choice to back my brother's untested ambitions over my carefully planned venture. I needed space to rebuild my confidence, to protect the dream I still believed in despite their lack of faith. But the betrayal didn't end with my family. Weeks later, I discovered that my girlfriend, someone I trusted implicitly, had been feeding information about my plans to my parents. Whether out of loyalty to them or some misguided attempt to mediate, her actions shattered the last vestige of trust I had left. I felt cornered, surrounded by people who claimed to care but whose actions spoke otherwise. Now, 6 months later, I'm still navigating the fallout. I've thrown myself into my business, working harder than ever to prove, not to them, but to myself, that I can succeed without their support. The loneliness of this path is undeniable, but there's also a strange freedom in it. I'm no longer seeking their approval, no longer measuring myself against my brother's shadow. The betrayal, painful as it was, has forced me to redefine what family means, to find strength in my own resilience. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I'm building it on my own terms, one determined step at a time. After what my brother said, I lost my cool and got into a really nasty fight with him. I accused him of trying to steal my ideas because he had none of his own. I called him a copycat and told him to get a personality that didn't revolve around me. I brought up a couple of incidents from the past when we were in school, where he would constantly try to do everything I did and try to beat me at my own game but would consistently fail. I told him that's what would happen to him this time as well, so he needed to be prepared for it. My brother also got mad, rightfully so, and told me it wasn't his fault that our parents preferred him over me because it was very evident why they favored him since he was just better. It was kind of petty and immature. My parents tried to break it up by insisting they loved both of us equally, but they just believed my brother had more business acumen compared to me. They even suggested I join him, as if I actually would. My brother went to business school, but I had experience in the real world and knew what I was doing because I had been a real estate agent. He didn't have any of the experience I did and did not know what he was talking about. So, I couldn't figure out why my parents would just assume he would be better at this than me without even giving me a chance. The only possible explanation was that they had a favorite, and it was very obvious to me that they did, but it was not me. My brother was the golden child, and there was no running away from it anymore. After that day, I decided I was going to have no contact with my family because it was just very insulting to be treated that way, like I was an idiot up to no good. It's been 6 months, and I haven't spoken to them. My parents tried to reach out to me a couple of times after I left that day, but when I didn't reply, they stopped trying after a few weeks. I haven't really attended any family events in the past couple of months either and have kept to myself, even during the holidays, because I don't want to run into them anywhere. I know it'll just be really awkward for all of us, so it's best to just avoid all of it. I just haven't been in touch with them in any capacity, and I actually prefer it that way. However, about 2 weeks ago, I found out something that really shocked me. My longtime girlfriend of almost 3 years and I were taking a trip for the weekend. It was supposed to be a short romantic getaway where I was going to propose to her. She decided to take a shower a couple of hours after we reached the place, and while she was in there, I wanted to charge my phone but couldn't find my own. I figured I had probably just left it at home, so I decided I was going to use hers instead. Her phone was on charge, so when I grabbed it, I noticed she had received several texts from my dad, whose contact she had saved by name. It was unusual because I couldn't imagine any conversations she would need to have with my parents, especially when I'd gone no contact with them. Even though we have a strict no snooping policy, I broke it for just that once, and I'm so glad I did. I had to guess her password because she had changed it, and I didn't know the correct one anymore. Thankfully, I figured it out on the second try. It was her sister's birthday, and they're pretty close-knit. Then I went through the texts and realized they had been on speaking terms for several months now. I realized most of the things she would send were pictures of my business plan, a list of investors, locations I wanted to set up, and several other business-related documents that were confidential, and my girlfriend was aware of. I usually work out of our living room, and she had easy access to those documents, so I wasn't surprised she had been able to get her hands on them. But I was shocked to my core that she was sending those things to the last people I would want. I knew for a fact that my father would absolutely use this against me to help my brother get ahead of me. I also figured out why my girlfriend was selling me out. After everything she sent him, my dad would specify a certain amount of money and inform her it had been sent, and she would confirm she had received it. So, she was selling me out quite literally, and I was disgusted when I realized what was going on. She was actually spying on me for my parents in exchange for money. It wasn't just pictures of documents and paperwork integral to the business I was setting up. She would also tell them other things about me, like who from the family I met with, what I told my relatives about them, and, worst of all, she would even rat me out whenever I talked badly about them or my brother, even to her. She would get paid for all of it. For context, my girlfriend is a freelance writer. She used to have a stable job but quit and decided to strike out on her own a couple of months after we started dating because I had told her I would support her until she was able to support herself. That hadn't happened yet, so I was still covering rent for her as she lived with me. I couldn't understand why she needed the money so desperately that she was willing to sell me out and sabotage our relationship. I never asked her to contribute to any expenses and just tirelessly kept working and paying for everything while she tried to save whatever little she earned herself. I had never made her feel bad about it. She didn't even borrow money from me for her personal expenses, which was great, but that's just about how independent she was. I would say I had a huge role to play in her having a home and food to eat every day. I'm not even bragging about it, it's just a fact. So, her going out of her way to screw me over for some extra cash was pretty much insane and straight out of a badly made film or something. I was extremely disturbed when I saw that, and within a split second, I made up my mind. I was going to leave that very instant. I hadn't unpacked any of my bags yet, so I grabbed all my stuff and made my way to the parking lot of the hotel as quickly as I could. Once everything was in the car, I started driving back home. I didn't stop for a break or check my phone until I had put considerable distance between me and the hotel. Finally, after almost 2 hours of driving, I stopped at a gas station because I was feeling nauseated and needed a can of soda. It was then that I finally checked my phone, and I had about 10 missed calls and way too many texts from my girlfriend. She was panicking about where I was and kept asking me if something was wrong. She said she was really worried and even said that if I was going through something, I needed to just come back and talk to her, and we could sort it all out. So, I guess she hadn't realized I knew about her spying on me for my parents. I didn't know what to say to her, so I decided to just stop everything, take a break, and think about everything for a while. I was horrified by the fact that my girlfriend of so many years had been spying on me for my parents. I was feeling everything all at once, betrayed, hurt, angry, and sad. But then I got to thinking and decided I was not going to let these people get the better of me and run away. I was going to make hell for them. So, I turned back around and started driving back toward the hotel because I had a plan in mind. When I returned to the hotel room, she seemed genuinely happy to see me, but I knew the truth now and had to do my best to pretend everything was normal. I was repulsed by her, but I still acted as though I was fine. I told her the reason I had been gone for so long without an explanation was because I was planning something for her, and I just freaked out for a bit in the middle of it, so I had to take some time out and calm down. She seemed confused until I went down on one knee and told her I wasn't freaked out anymore and that it was the thought of spending the rest of my life with her that really helped me make sense of things. Now I knew I was doing the right thing. She was really happy and accepted instantly, which just makes me think about how it's so insane that, while she was stabbing me in the back all along, she was still more than happy to get married to me. After that, I told her I wanted to reconnect with my parents to share this news with them since I'd had enough of our feud. I told her I didn't want to get married without my family present, so I thought it was in all our best interest to just bury the hatchet, just to see how she would react to it. She seemed a little put off by what I said but recovered within seconds. She told me she believed it was a great idea and encouraged me to make amends with them as soon as I could. So, I texted them right after we got engaged while she spoke to her family and told them about us. They didn't reply for a day, but on the next day of our getaway, I received a text from my father saying he was happy I had chosen to apologize to them and make things right and that they would love to be a part of my life once again. Once that was done, I started making arrangements for the engagement party right away. I told my girlfriend I would plan it all myself because I wanted it to be a surprise for her to make sure she didn't get in the way of anything. One of my friends is an event planner, and I got him involved. I hosted the party at my house and invited everybody my girlfriend and I knew, including her family and her friends. It was a lot of hard work, but I managed to keep everything a secret from her until the very last moment, and I definitely took her and my family by surprise. On the day of the party, once all our guests had arrived, I decided to make a speech and toast to our relationship. I thanked her and my family for everything they did for me at first. Then I went on to the big reveal and told everybody I knew what they had been up to for the last couple of months. I made sure to make the speech as humiliating as possible. I called my girlfriend a sellout, and I called my parents even worse names, but I had the best insults reserved for my brother, who I believed was the root cause of all of this. I told him that, even though he had access to all my business ideas now, it was just kind of sad because not even his own parents had any faith in him, in spite of being the golden child. It really got him nowhere since he still had to rely on me to become successful. All of them were pathetic, and I wanted to make sure everybody in our lives was aware of it now. The party took place a week after I found out about my girlfriend's little arrangement with my family, so I had sufficient time to set everything up. I also obtained screenshots of my girlfriend's text conversations with my father from her phone, which was easy now that I knew her password. I just had to sneak into her phone while she was asleep and then delete all the proof. I had booklets made out of those screenshots I had collected and had them distributed to each guest individually after the speech, just to prove how spineless and psychotic everybody involved in this was. All our guests were stunned, but nobody was more shocked than my family and my girlfriend. She actually left the room crying and refused to come out until everyone was gone. Everybody pretty much cleared out after the distribution of the booklets, but my family stayed and tried to fight me. I wasn't having any of it and told them that if they didn't clear the premises, I would call the cops, and then this would turn uglier than necessary. So, it would be better for them if they left. They went away, probably afraid that if this turned even uglier, it would be hard to save face among their relatives who had heard everything. This definitely would become the talk of the town in the next couple of days, so they didn't want any more trouble. I didn't hear from my parents after that, but I did have to talk to my girlfriend that very night. She did leave after the party and has moved back in with her parents, but not before she tore into me that night and told me I was a horrible human being for putting her through that. She told me the only reason she was doing that was because she needed the money to fund her little sister's education since she was about to start med school a couple of months after she graduated. Her sister's still in high school, so that checked out. But I asked her why she didn't just ask for the money from me, and she told me she was too proud to do it. When my father offered to give her money in exchange for information on my business and other dealings, she didn't think it through and just accepted it. Apparently, my father had told her he wanted to know about this because he wanted to help me with the business, but since I wouldn't speak to him, he had to resort to these tactics. It didn't even occur to her that he might be using all that information to help my brother instead, even though she knew about the problems we had been having. She admitted she had been very stupid not to think this through, but then she turned it around and told me that, while what she had done was horrible, what I did was nothing short of psychotic either. She finally figured out I'd known about what she was up to right from the day of our proposal itself. She told me I should have just broken up with her that day instead of coming back after driving away just to screw with her and my parents and humiliate them in front of so many people. It was already a given that we were no longer going to be together anymore, but before she left, she told me she was glad I'd shown her my true colors because she was about to tell my father she couldn't spy on me for them anymore and was going to call it off after our engagement. That was the last conversation we had before she left. Since the night of our engagement party, I haven't spoken to anybody and haven't done anything apart from just going to work and coming back home. I thought the party and humiliating them would make me feel better about everything, but it really doesn't. I feel like she did have a point about me coming off worse in this scenario because what I did was actually pretty psychotic, and I feel bad about it. So, am I the asshole for throwing my girlfriend a party just to humiliate her? It's been 2 weeks since my ex and I broke up, and today she came back to grab a couple of things she had left behind. We didn't talk to each other at all, and the whole time she just pretended I wasn't even there, which was hurtful but well deserved. She did something incredibly insane and gave me trust issues for life, and I humiliated her in front of all her friends and her parents, so I guess it's fine now because we can just call it even. It's still going to hurt for a while, but I don't think I can do anything to help it now. I don't owe her an apology, that's for sure. So, thank you for all the help and advice, you guys. I guess it worked because at least I feel better about myself now. About my parents, they still haven't talked to me, and I feel like it's for the best. They already have all my business plans and ideas, which sucks, but there's not really much I can do to help the situation now that the damage is already done. The most I can hope for is that my brother does the decent thing and doesn't utilize any of it, which seems unlikely because he is human garbage. Also, after the way I humiliated him at my party, I don't think he's going to want to hold back. So, things are looking pretty bleak for me right now on the business front, at least. But I hope I get through it somehow. I know it takes time to set up a new business, but I'm already really excited to finally work and do something I really enjoy. All the planning and hours I put into this have finally become fruitful and come to something. This also means I have something to take my mind off my ex. I know she did me dirty, but that doesn't mean I can't still miss her and the good times we had. I'm in therapy right now, and I'm trying to work through all the trauma and just process my feelings about everything in general. It's kind of difficult, but now that I have my job to look forward to, I feel like things are going to start looking up for me now. Still no news about my brother or what he's up to, but if I have managed to establish my business before him, then that means I have a head start, and I have to make the most of it. So, my fingers are crossed. I recently learned that my family is moving away because my brother is going to establish his business in a different state altogether since he doesn't want to be rivals anymore. I heard this right from the source because he told me all about it in a really long email. He made sure to mention he was sorry I wasn't mentally stable enough to deal with my emotions like any normal, rational adult and thought it was okay to throw parties and humiliate people just because I was bad at confrontation. He said I just wanted to be the center of attention for once, even though I had no qualities that would justify it, but he wished the best for me and hoped I would stay away from him and our parents now. It's been almost 3 months since the night of the engagement party, and I think I'm finally beginning to deal with it and process everything a lot better than I was back then, so that's great. I also heard that my girlfriend was finally going out on dates with other people now and was out and about like usual, so I guess everybody's moving on, and so am I. My business is doing all right, and with time, I'll be fine again.